Hello, welcome to Starship Simulator. This is a kind of a pre-alpha tech demo. It's sort of, I guess, kind of like a proof of concept of a game these people are working on. It looks pretty similar to something like Star Trek Bridge Crew. A lot of it looks like it's based off of kind of Star Trek style stuff, but it so far it's pretty in depth. There's not a whole lot you can do other than start up your ship and fly around and explore the solar system some, but I think it's a pretty cool game and it has a lot of potential. So I wanted to kind of show it off a bit here and show what it looks like so far, and hopefully they'll keep going with it because it looks like a pretty awesome idea so far. So what we'll do first is we will go to start new mission, and right now they've only got one ship, and you can also edit your ship and your character and all of that. So they've got this Magellan class. Um, we're going to go no crew and cold and dark. We're going to start just right from scratch. I have obviously played this just a little bit to get used to it and kind of figure out if it's going to work. It is very resource intensive, as you can probably tell with it loading right now. Um, it's going through an example of building the ship right now, so you can kind of see how complex they are. Hopefully, this will be able to handle loading and recording. So I'm going to let this load, and then I'll see you once it's ready. All right, so here we are in our cold and dark Magellan class starship. Can't see much. Space is pretty dark. Turn our light on. We are in our conference room right now. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the reactor going. So to do that, hi Jonesy. Awesome alien reference. Anyways, the first thing we need to do is we need to get down to the reactor room and get the reactor started up because we have no power right now. So fortunately, we do have enough power for our lift. We won't be taking the stairs because it's a long way down. And down we go. Labs, upper and lower residences, and engineering. All right. So now that we are in engineering, what we need to do is we need to get some power to the reactor so that we can start it up. Because as you can see, it is dark in here. No screens are on, no lights, nothing. Even the reactor control panel is dark. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to get to our distribution panel. And that's going to send power from our startup capacitors to the ship. And that's just power that we store for use when the ship isn't on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect that. And now that it's connected, we're going to connect some power to the GNF decks. So we get a little bit of lighting in engineering here. Still pretty dark, so we'll keep our torch on. Now that we've got our startup power ready, we need to get our coolant and our fuel flowing, which is going to be in here. So we've got all our tanks. We're going to go around back here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up these helium-3 supply lines. And then we're going to turn these pumps on. And that'll start filling our helium coolant tanks and chilling the helium. And then we're going to come over here and turn on the supply valves for our deuterium. And then from there, we'll also turn the pumps on and start filling our deuterium tanks. And we'll just check these, and we'll see that those are filling up. I've only done this a couple times, and I'm trying to do it by memory, so I just want to double check and make sure I'm getting everything right. Okay, so those are filling up, and then we come around to our supply side, and then we want to open our valve and turn our pump on. Open our valve and turn our pump on. And that'll supply helium coolant and fuel. And then we'll come over here and open our deuterium valve and turn the pump on for that. Alright, so now we should have helium and deuterium flow. So next, we want to get back into our control room here. Ring around the rosy. Alright, now we've got some power in here, as you can see. And then we're going to come over here to our reactor room distributor, and we're going to connect our start capacitors. And that'll get us reactor room lighting. So we've got a bit of lighting in here now. All right, and then we're going to switch this to startup mode. And then we're going to open our helium-3 supply and coolant valves and our deuterium valve. And then now we can see our temperatures in our coils are cooling here, so that's good. And then we also need a vacuum in our reactor, so we're going to start pulling that vacuum. As you can see, the internal pressure is going down. Once we get that vacuum low enough and the temperature low enough, we'll be able to start up our reactor. So we're just going to wait for the pressure to drop there and to cool. And this is also all the textures and buildings and everything. It's all still a work in progress also. So I'm sure it's going to be even nicer than it is now. All right, come on. We got our coolant temperature down enough. We're just waiting for our reaction chamber to get enough vacuum in it. All right, we'll start up our field coils, and then we will initiate our reaction. There we go. Our reactor is started. And then we're going to just go ahead and turn that up to full power. All right, once that settles down, then we're going to switch this to supply. And what that'll do is that'll switch it off of the capacitor feed to the reactor powering the ship. So there we go. We now have the reactor powering the ship. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We don't need our start capacitors anymore. Actually, we'll leave that connected to charge them in case. Alright, now what we're going to want to do is come around. Actually, no, we will turn that off. Because there's one more thing I nearly forgot to do, and that's connecting our batteries. So we're going to go into our maintenance tunnels here. We're going to go upstairs. Now, the batteries are situated all around the ship. I've got no power up here, so I need to get power in here before I can actually activate that. So, let's see now. Yeah, that's right. Okay, here we go. We've got our main output distributor. Almost forgot to turn that on. So, we're going to connect all of these, and that'll power up all these screens here. Alright, there we go. Now the one we want is the main battery distributor. And what we want to do with this is we want to connect all our batteries now that the reactor is running and stable. Alright. And then we'll leave the rest of this for now. And now we should be able to go into our maintenance tunnels here, go upstairs, and connect all our battery arrays. Alright, so this is battery distributors powered up. So every other hallway there's going to be 2 screens for our battery arrays, 8 total. So we'll connect that one. And then we'll connect this one. Then we'll run along past these distributor panels. And then we'll connect these 2 arrays. Then we'll run around in a big circle again, past the distributors. Connect these 2 arrays. Alright, and there should be 2 more. For 8 in total. 2 port, 2 aft, etc., etc. That way, if we lose any of them, we still have power from other parts of the ship. Alright, so we'll get those turned on. And those should be the last 2. So now our battery should be charging. We can actually go take a look at those as well if we want. Let's see. Cryogenic start capacitors. Let's see. Looks like our tanks are filling up. That's good. Just taking a look around, exploring a bit. Alright, let's get back in here. Alright, now that we got our batteries hooked up, we should have power to the rest of the ship. We just need to turn it all on. So we'll go over here. Here's our port quadrant distributor. So we're going to send power to all the decks from port. There we go. And forward. And then we're going to switch our G&F deck here over to our reactor. And that'll allow us to power up all our lights and everything else. Right, starboard quadrant, we're going to connect all of these up. Now mind you, this is all stuff you only need to do to start your ship cold. Alright, we're good there. Startup. Oh wait, that's on startup distributor. We don't want it on startup. We want it on. There we go. We want all of these powered by the ship itself, not the actual startup distributor. Alright, so we've gone around there. Then we just need to head upstairs and turn on a couple more distributors up here. Sorry for the frame rate lag. It definitely either my computer is way too slow or just needs some optimization. So we'll just get all these distributors turned on here. There we go. Now we can head back downstairs. Alright, everything looks good on the reactor. Alright, so now, actually, we need to go up a level. So we'll go up here, out the door, around the corner. Why do I have no light here? Did I miss something? That one's on. That one's on. That one's on. Did I miss? Or no? Huh. I obviously missed something. But where? None of those need to be on. Oh, here we go. Knew I missed something. Okay. Now we should have power. And more frame drop, but that's okay. We'll just deal with it. We're getting pretty close to finishing everything we can explore on here so far that I know of. Alright, so we'll go ahead and head back up to deck B and head to the bridge. And these doors, you can actually lock them with a code also. Alright, so here's our bridge. It is still dark, so we need to go over to our bridge distributor over here and connect those. Alright, there we go. We are now on the bridge. So, there are a couple other things we can do. So let's go ahead and hop in our sensors station here. We'll set medium range. So as you can see here, it's showing us kind of where we're at. And we can actually zoom in or out if we want. Let's see, we are here. So let's go visit. Oh, you know you want to. Or send the coordinates for that to the coordinates to Uranus to the helm. And then what we'll do is we'll hop up and we're going to walk over here to our helm. Get close enough to actually sit down. All right. Here is our helm station. Looks a little complicated, but most of that is if you want to enter manual controls. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to use our sensor target. And that'll set our coordinates to Uranus. Then we'll engage our auto navigation. You know, you can fly this manually as well if you want, but there's not really much to show off that way either. So once we get oriented here towards our target, wherever that may be, then we'll engage our faster than light system. And then once we get lined up with our target, we will take off. I think this would be quite fun with multiplayer also. Get a few people in, have people at different stations. So as you can see, the faster than light field power is only 55% because we're only traveling within our own little system here. So we don't need super fast travel. All right, we'll take a look over here. ETA is about 30 seconds. There it is. I see Uranus coming up quick. All right, we have discovered Uranus. Now see, I can manually fly the ship around. See if we can fly through Uranus. Okay, 10% is 75 kilometers a second. We're about 20. There we go, now we're moving. Ah, we're going down. Oh, we're going through. So yeah, this has been Starship Simulator. This is kind of the extent of what it has right now, I think. There aren't any really... I mean, there's the bridge shield. I don't know if I can actually use that. It says it's a work in progress. So, raised shield. Okay, raised shields over the windows. That's cool. And then there's one other thing we can do. Is we can shade the windows also. You can adjust the tint on them, which is pretty cool. So yeah, pretty awesome game so far. I'm hoping they keep going with it because it looks like it's got quite a bit of potential. Um, until then, I hope you've enjoyed checking this out, and if they update some more, maybe we'll give it a try later. Until then, take care and be safe.